Hello everybody. It's been a while, but we're back.
We're back!
We are supposed to have 2 mics, but yet again, technical difficulties.
Technology likes to fail on us.
But yeah, so we're back. We took an extended break.
Sabbatical.
But yeah, we were just really busy over the summer, and we've just been busy with life, haven't we? Really.
A lot's been going on, and it's a well-needed break because you've got to be in the right space of mind to be able to do podcasts. And if we're not in the right place and space of mind, we can't give you this.
Indeed. But yeah, we thought we would kind of jump back in with some testimonies from us, just so that you can kind of like content. Just to get to know us a little bit better, to know kind of like where we're coming from when we're chatting about things. And yeah, so Rachel's going to start off by doing hers, and then in the next episode I'm going to do mine. Let's go.
Hi everyone, so I'm Rachel. Hi. I don't know why. Bit about myself before I get started with my testimony is I'm 23. I've done social media for a long time, so I don't know why I'm getting this shy. So I was very blessed to be adopted into my family. My birth family wasn't the greatest situation to be in, so my parents actually prayed for years to have twin girls, and they were on the waiting list for ages, and at the right time they got a message through saying there's going to be 2 twin girls being born this date, like you're first on the list. Do you want them? That sounds so weird to say. Do you want them? And they were like, yes, of course. Like, we've been praying for this for years. And yeah, so they adopted me and my twin sister. And obviously they were they were Christians my whole life. So that was definitely a big blessing in itself. Especially because my birth family, they were into a lot of Ouija boards, tarot card readings, so I would have lived a very different life to what I'm living now. So growing up, I was always, taught the Bible. I went to church. I always thought in my mind, because I went to church and because my family and my parents are Christian, that meant that I was Christian, and I just automatically assumed that. I was like, well, I'm saved, but at the same time I grew up not knowing where I was going to go. In a primary school, my parents would just try and do like devotionals after dinner, so we'd do a devotional, read the Bible, and then talk and pray about it, which definitely really helped me a lot. And I remember my dad, there was like one devotional about Revelation, scary book, flipping heck, he went straight in, and I remember like the devotional was on about like where your destination's going to be, like if you're going to hell, if you're going to heaven. And in my heart I would always tell my dad to like, could we do it a different week when I'm feeling a bit more awake, because I knew deep down that I didn't want to hear it because I didn't know where I was going, and that terrified the heck out of me. That then also went into high school too. I just didn't know where I was going, but part of me was confused because I was like, well, if I've grown up in a Christian family and I know the gospel, I know Jesus, but I knew of Jesus, but I didn't know Jesus. I was like, why am I feeling like this? Anyway, that was kind of like my mindset growing up. In high school, I hated high school. It was like the worst years of my life. I started social media in high school, and I started to get a bit bullied in high school for doing social media. And I think back then, it was so rare for anyone to do YouTube or social media that if you did it, it was like, you're weird. Then I started getting some health problems. I started getting like a really, really sore back. And I had no idea what the cause was. None of my parents knew what the cause was. We just couldn't figure it out. We were praying all the time, and nothing would fix this problem. And for probably about 2 years, I would just be in agony and excruciating pain. I didn't know, like, if I was sleeping in the wrong way, if I was too much. I didn't know what the issue was. Coincidentally, at the time, my youth group went to a church in Billinge. And the youth went down for the more youth-friendly talk, you know, not too intense. Guy at the time was talking on healing, but specifically back pain healing. And I was like, well, this is not a coincidence. This is obviously something going on. So at the end of the meeting, I went up and I was like, not God. No, I didn't say God. I was like, please, like, can you pray for me, because I have back pain and it's so annoying. So he sat me down on a chair, and this is crazy. I don't know how I'm ever gonna be able to explain the sensation that happened next, because it was just out of this world. But I was sat on a chair, had my legs up, and they were like resting on this guy's hands. And he was like, do you want your leg to be longer or shorter? Oh, the issue is I had one leg longer than the other. Oh yeah, I've got a demonstration. So this was one leg, this is my left leg, and this was my right leg. So like the tip of my finger here was the length of my leg, and the tip of this one was that length. So as you can tell, it was quite a significant change. And because of that, like, I was obviously on a slant, so like walking around for a long time, it's putting strain on my back, so I couldn't really do much. So anyway, he basically said, you've got one leg longer than the other, do you want it to be shorter or longer? And I was like, of course longer, I'm already small as it is, I'm not going to lose any more height, you know? So basically, like, as he's praying, I don't know how I don't even know how to, I can't even describe the sensation, but I just remember my right leg, just like the muscles in my leg stretching out, but like there was no pain, there was no like soreness when it happened. It just started stretching out, and I could see it moving. Like, he was still holding onto my leg, onto my feet, bear in mind, and his hand was like moving with it. So I was like, it was like moving, just like, and everyone around me was watching me, and I was like, oh my days, this is crazy. And like after this, I still, like, I knew that God was real after this moment, but I still didn't change my life around. What I want to say as well is, growing up, me and my twin, when that close growing up, we actually went all the way through high school hating each other, because she hated being a twin and hated having someone the same age as her, and she thought that was very weird. I mean, to be fair, I don't blame her. And I remember in youth group, this leader had a word for me and my sister, and it was that, like, when we're older, we're going to be inseparable, and we're going to have a bond that no one can explain, because it's just, we're going to be that close. I mean, Hannah were like, ew. Like, absolutely not. So I think that was a kind of a moment where Hannah was like, this is cool, like, I need to be there for her. This is like, her legs just grew and she's in all this awe, like, what? So anyway, that happened. I still did not give God a proper chance. I thought, because, okay, now that I've had this miraculous healing, I'm a Christian now. But I never actually made the decision for myself at all. A lot of people can have this, where you have an encounter and you think that that makes you a Christian because you've got an encounter, but actually it's you verbally giving your life to the Lord. So that was in high school. I think that was in like year 10 or year 11. And then I got to college, and whenever I think of college, it just brings back so many bad memories of college. I hated college. I was probably at one of the lowest points in my life, and I had basically no friends. And at this point, me and Hannah were starting to become really, really close. Well, my friendship with my best friend in high school ended, and she was like my only friend that I had, and it ended for different reasons. And I felt really lost, because I was like, well, who else am I meant to hang out with? So I got into a friendship group of people, and they're basically the populars. And I was like, well, in high school, I wasn't popular, so let's try and get into a popular group, and everyone's going to love me. Girl, don't do it to yourself. Don't do it to yourself. It was horrible how mentally draining it is. Like, I had to basically be a different person in that group. I couldn't talk about my faith at all. I was ashamed of my faith at this point, and whenever they bring up, I'd just brush it off, and I ended up becoming very lonely and isolated. I'd basically cut myself off from all my friends from high school, because they had a much better friendship group and they seemed much more happy than I was, and I felt really ashamed of that and embarrassed of that I didn't have that. And if we met up, they'd talk about all their amazing friends in college, and I'd have no one to talk about because I didn't really have anybody. So I spent most of my nights in college crying and asking God, why me? Why am I this lonely? Why? Just why? I just couldn't understand it. And I spent most of my time with my mum, hanging out with her every weekend, which is fun, but after a while it's like, I need a bit of variety, you know? No offence to you, mum. And yeah, I became quite depressed, really. I hated myself because I couldn't fit in with anyone. Hannah had some great friends in college, and I didn't have anyone really. So it was a really low time for me, and I think I definitely was starting to want to call out to God and be like, okay, God, I know you are real, but like, why is this happening? And then the best thing ever happened in the whole world. People might disagree with this. Lockdown happened. This was a time in my life where things took a big turn for the better. I got all my coursework done for college, so I literally had like so many months off with no work. It was bliss. And at this point I tried to actually pray more, and I tried to spend more time in the Bible. But what I will say is, when I emphasis on tried, I would open the Bible and I wouldn't be able to understand anything in it. I'd be reading it and it would literally feel like I'm reading like a Spanish book. I'm like, what does this mean? I remember I'd spend a few nights with my dad trying to read the Bible, and I just couldn't get it. And again, I didn't know where I was going after Earth, so we do Bible studies still, and I'd still would be asking Dad, oh, can we just do this topic next week? And then every week I push it back and back because I didn't know, I was too scared to accept reality of, you're not going to heaven, babes. Yeah. And I just started asking God, like, God, what am I meant to do? Like, what do I do? Like I'm asking you, like, what do I do? And one night, everything changed. And I remember this day so clearly because it's just so impactful. So it was the day I actually was probably born. This is the day where life truly started for me. I had a vision, and it was quite a harsh vision. It was quite a scary vision, especially for being just 17, and you're like, what the heck do I do? The vision, it was all dark. I was outside, it was all dark, and then in the Bible it talks about how when Jesus comes back, the sky will roll back like a scroll, and there'll be light. That happened in the vision. I was like, okay. So this happens in the vision, and the sky rolled back, and there was just a bright light in the middle, which obviously would have been Jesus. And then there was angels, like a row of angels on either side, and they were all like praising and worshipping Jesus. And everyone who I knew around me, were around me, they were all singing and praising God. And I remember I tried to sing and worship God, but nothing was coming out because I didn't have that genuine relationship with God. Nothing was coming out, nothing was working. And I was a bit like, oh, this is a bit weird. Like, why can I not sing? Like, why is it not, like, what is going on? And the next minute, like, water appeared, and basically I saw people's legs like shaking, and then they'd wobble and they'd fall into the water and disappear. And then the scariest part happened is my legs began to shake and wobble. And I remember looking down and trying to stop my legs from wobbling and shaking. And then I woke up, and I was like my heart was beating so fast. Like, you know God is trying to tell you something, and you're like, nothing can distract this feeling until you actually like do something about it.
That's what I felt like.
Yeah. Like, you're like, I can't, like, my heart is beating fast. I was like, God is trying to tell me something here or do something about it, and he's not gonna stop it until I actually do it. I ran down to my dad, and I was like, Dad, I think I've just had a vision, but I don't 100% know. Can I just share it with you? Bear in mind, my dad is a pastor, so he's very good at, like, interpreting stuff like this, and he's got a good knowledge of the Bible, basically. So I explained exactly what I explained just then to him, and he was like, Rachel, that was God giving you a warning sign. You've lived a life that you might have done things you aren't proud of. And to be fair, at this point, I was carrying so much weight of, like, just so much burden, so much hurt, so much anger. And, like, I was carrying it all on my shoulders. And, like, I'd done things I wasn't proud of. I'd said things I wasn't proud of. And it was just on my shoulders for so long. And it felt so heavy to carry. And it was proper weighing me down. And my dad was like, this is your chance to actually commit your life to the Lord and live for him. So I started praying with my dad, and I can just remember closing my eyes and, like, tears streaming down my face, but, like, of happy tears. I was like, this is it. And when I tell you, the second I said amen and, like, commit it to God, the weight that lifted off my shoulders was insane. Like, the peace and the joy that I felt, I've never experienced that in my whole life before. Like, yes, you can be excited of, like, going on holiday with your family, or, you know, like, going to your favourite restaurant to eat your favourite food. That's joyful, yes. But this joy was something completely different, that, like, my whole body could just feel it, and I was, like, so giddy. And I remember literally, like, sobbing my eyes out, being like, oh my gosh, I'm a child of God, I'm a child of God. And at this point, like, I knew I was like, I'm going to heaven. Like, I know where I'm going. Like, my life is now dedicated to you, God, and to you only. And I remember running to my mum and my sister, and I was like, I'm a Christian, I'm a Christian. I was like, I gave my life to Jesus. Like, it's so fun. And my mum was like, oh, that's amazing, that's so great. And when I tell you, I became a completely different person. If you knew me from high school, you'll know that I was very gossipy. I liked to make up rumours. I was not a nice person, and I would always find I was quite, excuse my language, I was quite bitchy. Like, I was not a great person at all, and I knew that, but I just didn't care. I was like, nah, sack it, it's fine. Whereas this time around, when I prayed the prayer, I was like, all of that changed, and I was like, I can't be that person anymore. Like, why would I, when God has done so much for me? So the first thing I did, well, I told my youth group, and my youth leader at the time bought me a new Bible with a notebook. And because I had nothing else to do during lockdown, I spent all my time reading the Bible and creating that foundation of knowledge that I knew. And I was actually able to read the Bible and understand it. And I was like, it's just crazy. The veil lifted off my eyes, and I was able to see, like, I was able to see everything around me and being like, oh my days. Like, I remember that night, I literally sat outside in the evening with the sunset, and I was literally, like, with worship music on, reading my Bible, and I was like, this life is so cool. Like, I get to live this life with God, and I get to, like, talk to God. Like, he's my best friend. Like, this is so cool. But then, spiritual warfare. We love it. So then I think afterwards I had a week of crying every day with the feeling of, you're not saved. God doesn't love you. Why would he love you? And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, what if God doesn't actually love me? Like, what if I am, what if God hates me? And like, all these things that I'd done in the past kept coming in my mind. And I'd wake up every day at 7 a.m, go downstairs, read my Bible, because I knew that if I read my Bible, I can fight off all these thoughts with the word of God. And I remember reading my Bible, and every day my mum and dad would come down, and I'd be crying, and they're like, why are you crying? And I was like, oh, it's nothing, it's fine. It's fine. And then one day it just got too much, and I sobbed so much, and my dad was like, what's going on? You seem like really stressed and overwhelmed. And I was like, God, why do I keep saying God? I was like, Dad, like, what if I'm not a Christian? Like, what if all this kind of stuff? And he was like, that's called spiritual warfare, and that happens so much when you give your life to Jesus, because Satan is trying to drag you back into his power. He gave me a verse, either from John 1 or 1 John, I can't remember which one it was. And it was basically saying, like, if you declare with your heart, your mind, that you are saved. And he read that out to me, and the second he read that out to me, and I was like, okay, all those thoughts just disappeared, because I like declared that word over my life. And I was like, okay. And they thought, obviously, I still get them every so often, like, oh, you're not a good Christian, you've done this, so you've done that today. But, like, a thief does not go into an empty house to rob. Like, if you're getting spiritual warfare, it's because you've got something special within your soul, and that's Jesus. And at this point, I was going to my second year of college, and it was a much better experience. Can't tell you that for free. I got into a new friendship group, and I just tried to get through college and get my A levels and get out. And then I went into first year of uni, and I hated uni again because some of the girls that was in my class I didn't really get along with very well, because I was just so different now because of my faith. I couldn't really relate to them on anything. Like, they would go out drinking, clubbing, all that, and I just didn't have anything to relate to with them. And I ended up almost dropping out of uni, and this is the second lowest point in my life. Despite at this point being a Christian, I decided to try a job out in a nursery full time. I think at the time I had some sort of eating disorder, because I was always conscious of, I had a fear of basically being hungry, and I had the fear of, like, I don't know, like, I had to always be eating, and that sounds really weird, but, like, so in my GCSE exams, I wasn't even stressed about the exam. I was stressed about my stomach fumbling in the exam room. So I'd force myself to eat so much food, and then I'd be fine. And I didn't care about what my grades were. And I think it became really obvious in this new job that I had. I only had like 2 or 3 trial shifts, and I called it a day because I was like, I can't do it anymore. Everything just, like, it became so heightened because a nursery probably isn't the greatest job to go first for, because the hours are crazy, and it just all kind of came out. And I remember coming back from a first trial shift, and I hadn't eaten the whole shift because there was no time to eat, because everyone else had their designated time for lunch, and by the time it was my time for lunch, it was time to go home. So I was basically starving for the whole shift, and I was just so stressed, like, oh my gosh, I need to eat. So I'd overwhelm myself, and I came back home, and I started spiraling, being like, I can't do this. Now I'm okay. Now I can go a day with a rumbly tumbly, you know what I mean? Like, it's fine. But back then, it was such a big deal to me, and it really affected me to the point where I couldn't eat anymore, because the anxiety that I felt going back into that building, I couldn't do it. And I wasn't eating anything. I lost a bit of weight because I wasn't eating anything. And my parents were getting quite concerned. They were like, Rachel, can you just please eat some toast? Just have something. I remember crying. I literally, on my memories, got a video of me literally being like, I want my dad, because I was just so stressed of crying. And my parents were like, just give it one more day. Just go in for one more day. And I went in one day. And before I went in, because I was that anxious and stressed, I threw up, like, before going in. I didn't have enough time to, like, wipe my mouth or anything, or, like, just put a mint in my mouth, basically. And I got into the building, and someone said, oh, it smells like sick in here. I was like, bruh. And I did do, like, 2 or 3 trial shifts, and at the end of the day, I was like, I just can't do this anymore. And I remember feeling so defeated, because I was like, I tried so hard to make this work, and it was a full-time job. Everyone was so happy that I got a job. And then I remember this one day I walked out, and I was like, I'm so sorry, but I just can't work here anymore. Like, I don't know what it is, I just can't do it. I was always crying in this woman's office. Bless, she probably thought I was a right idiot. And I came home, and no one was home, so it was just me. And I sat in the garden, and I had my Bible open, and I just, like, was like, God, like, are you here? Like, I've been praying and asking you for so much for you to just be here, and I've not felt you, or yeah, I don't know where you are in this moment. And this is where my favourite Bible verse comes into place, Isaiah 43 verse 2. And God has never given me a Bible verse like this before, and I know that because I can't forget it, that it's from him. This verse came into my mind, so I opened my Bible and went straight to the verse, and it was like, when you go through deepest waters, I'll be with you. When you walk through the fire, the flames will not consume you, for I'll be with you and I'm your God. Something along those lines. And I was like, oh, okay. So luckily, the same day, my uni got back to me and was like, we would love you to have you for second year. Do you want to come back? And I was like, yes! So I went back to uni and finished off my degree. Ended up going to a different uni and getting a 2-1. So I did pretty good. But that was hard. Even though I was a Christian and I had a good relationship with God, I still was at the depths. Like, that was like depression. I was not eating, I was losing weight, and it took me so much time to get back into eating again because my body was just so anxious and like in like survival mode. So yeah, that was that. Went back to uni, and then I got a job, or some other jobs, part-time jobs that were much better for me. But also during the time, I didn't really have any close friends that knew God. I was still alone. Me and Hannah became much closer as siblings. Like, we became best friends, which was amazing. And I prayed that God would just bring me like a Christ-centered friendship. I didn't care at this point about a boyfriend. Couldn't care less. I was like, I just want a best friend that knows the Lord, that will bring me closer to God and will be praying for me all the time. And then, about 5 years of praying this prayer, Nim comes into my life.
Hello.
Nim comes into my life, and it's like everything fell into place. Like, she came into my life, I secured a job, and I was actually happy, and my faith was going really, really well. And then I was also praying for years for a good friendship group that knew God and that I could be myself around. And then that also happened too. And now I literally, like, my friendship group is like my chosen family. Like, I love them to pieces, and like, oh, they're just great people. And I know, don't clip that. I just have a lot of love for them. And like, I couldn't picture life without them, really, to be honest. And they're just, yeah, amazing people. So we met them, and they've just brought me a lot more closer to God because of how much they know the Lord and their wisdom, especially JJ. JJ, you're gonna get a specific shout out. He is a wise owl.
He
Isn't he? JJ, I don't know. You're just a great guy, and you're always there to be like, should you be saying that? Should you be listening to that? Is that appropriate, Rachel? And I'm like, bro, you're 17? How are you this wise at 17? You're a great man, and your future girlfriend, wife, would be very, very blessed to have you in her life. But yeah, that's basically my testimony so far. Me and Nim have now secured, a job together in the same place, which is, again, another blessing because, like, we can grow together. It'll be, obviously, Nim will share her testimony in the next episode, but I feel like this job is going to be really good for Nim as well. But that's basically my testimony. It's very simple. It's very bit boring, but it's my
Testimony is never boring.
what you said. But like, yeah, I've not had like a crazy upbringing, but God has still been faithful, and God has still shown me Himself to me. I mean, I gave my life to Him, and I've not looked back. And I just want to say, if this is your first time listening to a testimony and you've never experienced God's love before, and you don't come from a family that know Jesus, like, can I just encourage you just to open your mind a bit and open your heart, just to at least taste and see. And you might see that He's good, and if you don't think He's good, that's okay, at least you try. But I don't know anybody that has tried and tasted to see His goodness that has ever walked away from God. I know that so many people have like been like in awe of who He is and have just shared the gospel. It can save you from so much stuff like depression, anxiety. It can bring so many amazing things into your life, and He loves you and He wants a relationship with you. And you don't need to have some wacky story about doing so many side quests. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be this amazing, like, insane background. Like, He just wants to know you.
I've got a question. Okay. What advice would you give to someone that is kind of like in the position that you were when you first sort of like came to God, where they feel like it's all quite overwhelming, like reading the Bible and trying to understand it and everything? like how did you like sort of overcome that, and how have you incorporated like spending time with God in your like everyday life? Like, what does that look like?
Good question. I think the Bible can be overwhelming, but I definitely started with the Gospels because it's very simple. It's in like different chunks. But I think for me, I had it a lot easier because it was lockdown and I didn't have anything else to do apart from doom scroll or read my Bible, and obviously I chose to read my Bible. So I had a lot of time to kind of do it at a pace that was good for me. But I think going into college, going into uni, going into work, life gets a bit chaotic. It gets a bit intense. And sometimes you don't have time to read a Bible. Like, I know people say, oh, that's no excuse, but sometimes you actually don't have time to read a Bible. But I'd say how I incorporated it in my life would be I always listened to worship music getting ready in the morning. That was a big thing that helped me on the way to work on the train, or in my headphones, or I always try and swap out the secular music for worship because that is a form of worship, isn't it? Like, worshipping God is worship. But I also try to do the verse of the day every morning. So I do it now too. Whenever I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do when I reach for my phone, shouldn't do that actually, is I don't go on any social media apps. I go straight to the Bible app. I look at the verse of the day, pray about it over my life, and then get on with the day. But days where I don't do much, I could go home and had no plans in the evening, I would just spend a few minutes reading a chapter. And if I had time to study it and analyse it and highlight it, then I would. But don't put too much pressure on yourself to have this perfect routine every day to read the Bible, because it's impossible. Like, life is stressful at times and life is intense at times. I think just trying to find at least 2 minutes, 5 minutes of your day. But I think also as well, praying throughout the day is so easy and so quick to do. Like, I think praying to God every day and in all areas of your day actually brings you closer to God, because the more you pray about the little things, the more little miracles you see happen, and the more your faith deepens and the more your trust becomes more strengthened with God. Like, the less I pray, the less I see his goodness in the day. Don't be too hard on yourself and just try and, like, if you've got time to doom scroll, you've got time to pick up the Bible. That's what I'm going to say with that one.
So yeah, that is all for today. In fact, it's not, because we're about to record mine. But yeah, thank you for watching. I feel like a real YouTuber now. Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe. But yeah, let us know if you've got any questions about what Rachel said. And yeah, thank you, Rach. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.